Well, today I am joined by the boss of Kansas City jazz guitarists, the great Danny Embrey. Danny has toured the world with Clare Fischer, Sérgio Mendes, Karrin Allyson. You've played for the president at the White House, on the Johnny Carson show, Merv Griffin show, and right here at Black Dolphin and Green Lady Lounge.
Yeah, I saved the best for last.
And we want to, well, you've also taught a lot at a variety of universities, and you've pretty much retired from teaching now, haven't you?
Yes, yeah. Reached that point in my life where I was trying to slow down a little bit and take it easy. So I did a lot of teaching. Bellingham, Washington, I taught under Chuck Israels, who was Bill Evans' bass player at one time. And did that when I lived up there for a couple of years. And then, of course, KU and UMKC. Yeah. And privately, too.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you've kind of retired from that, but you maintain a pretty vigorous gigging schedule.
I do. Especially thanks to the Green Lady Lounge, because a lot of I've cut back on the gigs too.
Right.
Yeah, and so I don't do some of the what we call general business gigs, GB gigs. That's what they call them on the East Coast. It's where you just do it for the income.
Right.
Not much satisfaction otherwise. So I kind of cut those out. So yeah, but I'm playing plenty. Yeah.
Right. Well, and we want to get into the Danny Embrey origin story and the beginnings, but let's start with just tell us about the gigs you're currently doing.
Right now I'm playing at the Green Lady Lounge, and 3 nights a week, Thursdays with Ken Lovern's Guitar Elation, and which is a huge ball for me to play 2 guitars and an organ. There's a lot of possibilities for things you can do with the music, harmonies and big chords. That's 3 chordal instruments, which is really unusual in a group. We rarely play chords at the same time, but we do some, so it's a pretty massive sound, and that's been a ball for me. And to play alongside Brian Baggett on guitar has been a real treat, because he's a very fine player. Amazing technique, and he can play about any style. And so we have a lot of fun. Yeah.
And we do a fair amount of the Danny Embrey compositions in that.
Yeah, we do. And they're real fun to hear in that format, because most of them were designed with a trio or maybe a horn player added in mind. So, yeah. So I'm doing that every Thursday. That's fun. And then downstairs in the Orion Room with my trio, and it's great playing with the regular guys. I like to play with all kinds of people, of course, but it's Brian Stever on drums, Gerald Spates on bass, and when you have regular guys, you get to know one another's playing very well. You get to know their time feel, their vocabulary, their things they tend to do. You can kind of predict sometimes not. So that's been a great gig for me, and I thank John Scott for having me there.
And we just recently recorded that trio, right?
That's right. It's in the works. Yeah.
Right.
It's in the can and in the works, yeah.
And it looks like you had picked 8 or 9 tracks from what we recorded to produce on that, to go ahead and have distributed to the public, published.
That's right. We're going to polish them and put it out there. So that's been fun. And John set up that live recording for us, and so we're pretty thrilled with it. Of course, I'm always pretty self-critical. I listen and go, I wish I would have played that better. But it's a live recording, and I think it's pretty good.
Right. Yeah, and there's a certain kind of truth to that, and sometimes the beauty is in the imperfections.
Yes, yeah.
How things get rescued or how things get followed up.
It can open up some new windows sometimes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So anyway, that's been a lot of fun, especially the fact that it's the same guys. So you can write for each other, and both Gerald and Brian Stever write tunes.
Right.
So-
Now, of those 8 or 9 tunes you're looking at, I'm guessing most of them are yours, but are some of Gerald's and some of Brian's on that
That's
list
right.
as well?
Yeah. There's
Nice.
one of Brian's.
Is it something over the fence? What is that?
Well, it's a interesting title. He has a story behind it, which I'm still a little vague on. It's called "In a Pile Over the Fence," and I think it might have to do something with an animal or something.
Okay. All right.
You know, so yeah, and that's and then a few of Gerald's. Gerald is quite prolific. He's
Right.
written a lot of tunes, and I don't remember exactly what's on the list, but there will be you know, a few of his too. Yeah.
Nice. And so when you play down there, and you're there every Friday and Saturday, 7:30 to 10:30?
That's correct. Yeah.
And you guys are playing all original tunes, so it's
That's right. Yeah.
It's the three of you, and then mostly they're yours. But yeah, Gerald certainly has a lot of tunes.
Yeah.
And Brian's bringing them in.
Yeah, he is, and it depends on, you know, I got to select the menu of tunes to play, depending on the audience and you know, the vibe of the room.
Right.
And some tunes are, on occasional nights, they're a little too subtle to play
Right.
down there, and other times they're just fine to do. So yeah,
I get down there early a lot of times on the weekends, and I'll hear you play a ballad.
yeah.
You've got one.
Well, I love ballads.
What is
yeah.
it? The tune you wrote, Dream. What is that?
The Dreamer.
The Dreamer.
The Dreamer.
The Dreamer.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things was you did an introduction saying that, you know, wondering if anybody could guess what tune it was based on.
Right.
And you got about as far as saying the title. You said, yeah, it's called The Dreamer, and I just yelled out, "Darn that dream!"
That's right. And I said, "Who was that?" Because I can't see out there very well. I said,
That wasn't fair.
yeah, here, you win a CD, or here's a T-shirt.
Because I'd heard you play it before, and I just yelled it out. I just couldn't help myself. That was one of those things I shouldn't have done. But. So you've got this upcoming recording of your trio. You're at Green Lady Lounge every Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So you've got that on your horizon. You're still writing tunes. I mean, you keep bringing in new tunes. You keep blowing up my email with new songs. I got to learn.
Yeah, well, I have the opportunity to do that. So, yeah, and off the path here, I tell you who's writing a lot of tunes right now is Rod Fleeman.
Oh, yeah.
He's been writing a ton of them. You can ask Gerald Spates about that one. He's just been in a frenzy, so that man's pouring them
Is
out.
he wearing Gerald out?
Yeah. Anyway, but I like writing. I always have, arranging and writing tunes. And I used to do a lot of arranging for singers, for small group things. I have folders and stacks of them in my basement of I always keep a copy, of course, of
Sure.
the things I've done. Most of them are handwritten.
Right.
And I've got just thousands of tunes.
Because you did a fair amount of that for Angela Hagebach, too,
That's right.
When she was kind of getting started, you helped
That's
her
right.
get her book
yeah,
together.
That's right, and a lot for Karrin, obviously, and then a lot of kind of unknown or lesser known singers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some of them don't even live here anymore. That one of them was moving out of town, and I can't remember her name, and she wanted 40 arrangements. So I was like, well, okay, so I did that. You know. Quite a lot,
Right.
and and I had to come up with some ideas for intros and outros and interludes to make them a little special. Mm-hmm. And so, but I don't do that much anymore. Mainly because I don't want to work as much as I used to.
Right.
There's a lot of work, you know.
Right.
Plus, a lot of singers use these online apps, iReal.
Yeah, Real Pro.
Pro,
Right.
and they just copy off these chord changes.
Right. They pick their key and hit
Yeah,
print.
and they're not great, but they're serviceable,
Right,
and
gets
they
you
don't
through.
cost them anything. So that kind of a robot took over my job, basically.
So, what else do you see on the horizon coming up?
I don't see anything much different than what's happening now. Mm-hmm. I don't want to go back to being just kind of a general gig person trying to fill up every empty space in my calendar.
General business gigs?
Yeah, general business, GB gigs, yeah.
No more GB gigs.
Yeah. And I like my leisure time.
Yeah.
So, the thing is, like you say, I'm going to continue writing music, which I enjoy doing that,
Right.
and playing it with people. Hopefully, I'll still have this gig for a long time to come. My heart holds out and everything. And because this gives me the opportunity to perform new music and
Right.
play other people's music, once again, Gerald's, Brian's tunes. So that I'm not looking beyond that.